Greetings, fellow Guitar-aliens. Jeff Weinberger coming at you here with a new tutorial. I'd like today to talk about how to take blues chords, a basic 3-chord blues, and expand on it and make it a little bit bigger and maybe a little more sophisticated, and to get some of that stuff into your playing. This is going to concentrate mostly on rhythm guitar today and chords, but we could easily in the future do another lesson on how to do this with single notes, how to solo over a chord progression like this, or how to use this sort of thing for your soloing. So even on a 3-chord blues, which I did in A, you could solo using all kinds of concepts that contain way more than 3 chords, like bebop players did, or like modern blues players do. Somebody like Josh Smith or Joe Bonamassa or Eric Gales, or some of the really super good blues players out there throw this stuff in their playing all the time. So I was doing blues in A, and normally blues in A is going to, on a basic level, just be 3 chords. It's going to be like an A7, a D7, and an E7. That's all well and good. You can play a perfectly good blues using just those 3 chords. Many decades worth of blues were played, recorded, and performed using just 3 chords. But if you want to go beyond that, and those 7th chords start for you to be a little bit limiting, and you want to go beyond that, you can add some more colorful notes to those. So what I did at the top there was an A13 rather than an A7, which is all well and good. Like I said, that's gotten many, many great blues artists through, just playing a simple A7. But how about A13? Or even A13-9? So let's talk about what those are. Don't worry about the chord names, by the way, if these numbers are a little high, like 9 and 13 and that sort of thing, and that gets a little intimidating. I'm not going to really explain too much about the theory today. We're going to learn just these very cool sounds, and do not be intimidated by the theory. I know I say that a lot in these tutorials, but that's what I find. A lot of people that come to me for guitar lessons do get a little bit buried by music theory. They try to teach themselves theory from books. They try to watch tutorial videos that explain music theory, and they just don't get it. And that's okay. Don't worry if you don't get music theory, or if some of the concepts that are talked about in music theory videos seem above your head. We're really just learning to play guitar here. We're learning about the more how do I play this stuff than how do I think about this stuff. So getting on with our first chord, A13, that's going to be 5X, 5, 6, 7. And then if you want to borrow your pinky for an extra 7 there on the high E string, go for it. That gives you that 9th. Just a really nice sound. You can evaluate with your ears what you think about these rather than what they mean theoretically. So A7, A13, A13-9. There you go. There's all 3 sounds, all valid. And then for the 2nd chord in the blues, we oftentimes do D7, or like a cowboy chord, D7. That's fine. But in this case, we're going to do D9. Very common thing for a blues person to do. The 4 chord in the key of A being a D9. That's like not unusual at all. That's not way advanced or out there. This is fairly normal stuff. So it's X, 5, 4, 5, 5, 5. I'm borrowing my 3rd finger across to get the 5, 5, 5. If you can't do that, which I do meet many guitar players who cannot, there's alternatives. What you could do is, instead of borrowing, you could do X, 5, 4, 5, 5 with 2 separate fingers, and then just leave off the high E string. That's a very common fingering. A lot of people play that chord that way. It sounds great. But if you want that extra high note, bar it, and you'll get that extra high note. All right. And then as a bonus, you could even make that a 13. You could stick your pinky out there to the 7th fret of the high E and get beautiful sound, a D13. So we had an A13 and a D9, or a D13 if you want. Already we have options. We haven't even gotten started yet practically, and already we have some nice colors and some nice options here, nice choices you have, instead of being locked into just 3 chords. All right, at that point in a blues, after it goes to the 4 chord in the second measure of the 12 measures, you generally go back to the 1 chord, excuse me. But what jazz players do, a lot of bebop players would do, is they would precede that going back to the 1 chord with these 2 other chords that lead into it. Those of you that are hip to music theory would know this is called a 2-5-1. But basically all it is doing B minor, E9, back to A. So that gives you sort of an expectation, a more strong pull toward that 1 chord. Very Charlie Parker kind of move to do. Real happy-go-lucky bebop sound. You don't have to do that. That could be omitted and you'll still sound pretty good.